Welcome back to the Stuff or Whatever podcast. Your host, BQuanchi here. Before getting into things, I always like to say the best way to support me and the channel is to like, comment, and subscribe. Watch all that. We can do on YouTube. I do stream gaming on Twitch with those stream VODs uploaded back here on the YouTube channel. Plus, there's always Twitter, so you can always catch updates and other fun tweets and all that. So it's been a while. I've been more sporadic with the podcast just because I don't know, it's been kind of nice not to have so much of a focus on it just because it's, I'll say it before and I'll say it again, it's like screaming to the void. No one's really watching or caring all too much, but I still get much out of it as well. You know, it helps me talking and all that. Oh, and since last actual podcast, I got a new microphone, which is the HyperX Quadcast, I believe. So the quality is a little bit better, although I've been streaming with it for a while too, like maybe a month, I think. And also I updated the visual for the podcast, as this is pretty much just all audio, but did a little flair with what you see on the YouTube video and all that. I don't think I'll go back too much to doing the podcast as often. Sometimes I have stuff to say, sometimes it's grasping at straws, so I kind of wish it was a point that I can have more interactions with fans and have more to play off of. But just some stuff to talk about and all that. And some updates as well. Also, speaking of streaming, I am doing Halloween stuff. Kind of more like scarier games, or kind of more of a Halloween theme. It's up on channel 2, the VOD of Castlevania, which I do plan on playing more on the channel. It's Zombies Ate My Neighbors. A few more this week, and then next week, last week, just because of how Halloween falls this year, probably going to make sure my VODs hit Halloween. But last week, I'm kind of looking forward to that too, just because it's fun stuff as well. Then also on the channel, I've been doing for a while these gameplay videos, which is more just no commentary, just the gameplay. And I'm going to take a hiatus from that as well. Sometimes they perform, I guess it kind of depends on the game and all that. Sometimes they get a little bit better numbers, but it's sometimes it's kind of feels tedious to try to find games that make a good, quick, especially with old retro games, doing a quick, playthrough, or showing off this game or that game. Because part of it, I might just want to play it on stream as well and talk over it and all that. So it's if I'm going to play it, I might just save it for a stream. Or I'm kind of excited next week. I did a playthrough of a kind of a indie horror. I don't know what you would call it. It's kind of like a retro, but kind of like those ROM hacky kind of games, but it's on Steam, called Beast of Burden. So I'm doing that, and since the game's short, I'm not streaming it, but I did talk over it. So I'm kind of wondering if I should do more of a Let's Play style on games as well. I think with streams too, I've been kind of using that to kind of play through games and all that. And there's also a playlist on the channel too, so there's a few games I've beaten on stream. The recent one I beat was Brock the Investigator, which I want to do a review on that too, because I'm doing more video essays and even game reviews on the channel as well. I did do little stuff like cartoons and animated movies. I think I have to go back and look, just because it's hard to get visuals, and I think with some games it's good to have that B-roll. Versus, I'm not sure how animators, it's not animators, but commentators do for movies or TV shows and stuff like that, to have footage from it. Plus, I don't have I have a free cheap video editor, so I mean the program, it's all me, but yeah, because that's one thing, if I got more traction with the YouTube stuff or whatever, I would put more oomph into the editing, or more investment into a better program. So it's maybe I do more games that have especially indie stuff on Steam, or whatever I find. But I'm going to talk about Brock the Investigator, and also try to do another stream it again, but do a different style to play through. But kind of a slight spoiler, just a little tease, is that when I played through it, I did get the canonic ending. There is multiple endings in that game, so if you want to check that out, that is on a channel. I think that's pretty much it for channel update stuff, but I don't know, it kind of feels weird. think I maybe said it more on stream because I haven't been doing a podcast lately, but I always find weird that some of my tweets that go out for when I'm streaming or about to stream get a little bit more attention. Sometimes even days later, like get around like retweet or like and all that. Even though my streams are kind of kind of sad, but they're kind of a little boring. And at least I just me playing the games. Like, I kind of wish I had more like interactions and more like at least feedback. So like, okay, do this or that. Because sometimes I see the numbers and even like the post podcast views, and like, oh, okay. But yeah, I have some stuff in the works. But I don't want to feel like I'm beating myself too much, but it feels like it's a little bland or not as flashy as other like content creators and all that. But I'm just little me, and all that. So Halloween's around the corner, and I haven't done anything for Halloween for years. I know like the past couple of years I've been a little iffy when it comes to Halloween, but I do have one Halloween tradition, which I'm not sure if others have something similar. But my Halloween tradition is before Halloween, I go to the store, buy a bag of fun size Reese's peanut butter cups and a bag of Kit Kat bars, the fun size. Give them a big bowl and keep it all to myself and eat them. These kind of graze throughout the week, and even a week after Halloween, I don't like dig into it too much. It's like maybe here and there. I don't do candy too much. Like, adult, like, oh, I can buy candy. I can buy what I want. If I want cake, I can buy cake. If I want ice cream, I can buy ice cream. But I try not to spoil myself too much. But there's been time and again, like, I'll buy those big shareable bags of the peanut butter M&Ms is my favorite. And it's kind of graze throughout like a week or so. And it's like, oh, Halloween, just because, you know, remember trick-or-treating, getting free candy from everywhere in the neighborhood and all that. So like, oh, I'll just buy candy for myself, because I feel beyond that, I really don't eat too much of like Kit Kat bars or chocolate or candies in general. Although once in a while, kind of just depends, like if people get them out at work or whatever. But don't try to build too much. But not to say that I eat healthy. I just like, I try to eat garbage every single day at least. At least not not everything I eat is pure garbage. But oh well. I guess it's time to get on a little soapbox for a little bit. I'm not like too political, again, like who's listening, but wanted to just get this out there and say, vote. It's the midterm elections. I'm sure people know, but like, honestly, just vote. Make sure you're registered. I think registration might be a little past, but there's always like, I know 2 years, 2024 is a big presidential election, but like midterm is really important. Like, vote for every election that you can, especially with like the big ones with propositions and senators and representatives and all that. Because it's been crazy, like, not to get too into it, but with the whole Supreme Court repealing or revoking, whatever you want to call it, Roe v. Wade, it's been crazy. And I guess to give a little context, I don't like to talk too much where I live and all that, but I said before, like on other podcasts and streams and all that, but I live in Arizona, and it's kind of off tangent. I wonder if like YouTubers or YouTube channels just like make extra money just because I'm not that big, so I don't see too much numbers or influxes with like ad revenue. But I see so many ads on YouTube that are political. I've been doing like for you know, like watching content, whatever. I sometimes will have like the Roku, Pluto TV, like the free streaming channels you get. Usually I watch for like Hell's Kitchens or Game Show Network or even Project One Way reruns and stuff like that. But I get so many ads about like politics. It's like really crazy. Like, again, I'm sure no one really cares too much, but where I lean politically. But I'll say, you know, just to put out there more Democrat than anything. But it's just funny to like seeing these ads, like you know, like the big ones I've been seeing about our sitting senator with his Democratic, at least one of them, Mark Kelly. And I don't know, like his positive ads by him seem good, what he wanted to do. But like some like anti-Mark Kelly ads is like, oh, he votes with Joe Biden. Oh, he's in love with Joe Biden and stuff like that. And like, isn't that kind of the point? Like a Democratic senator voting with a Democratic president. Like Republicans do all the time. Like when you had Republican sitting presidents, Republican senators and representatives vote with them all the time. So it's like, is that your biggest argument? I guess a weird one, like saying like the drowning nation or something like that. And it's like, talking like control, and they even mentioned like transgender agenda and like, okay, so do you want to be transphobic and all that? It's kind of weird. And there's really crazy ones. I forget like one of them. Like one of them, I think not the Proud Boys, but Oath Keepers or something like one of those crazy groups that kind of like a big involvement with January 6th, that shit that went down, and election fraud and all that. But like Blake Masters, like I think he's running for Senate, and he's like really big against like abortion, like wanting to ban and criminalize all that. It's like crazy. Like, kind of remember like a little soundbite if you've seen Zootopia, like it's your words against you, because these have like sound bites of him and all that. And it's like, oh my god, that's serious, because I know like that's a big thing, is that choice and reproductive rights are a big thing. Probably not just this election, but in future elections too. So like vote, vote, vote. In your best interests. I can't like explicitly say like, hey, vote for this person, vote for this party. But it's just like crazy how like one party's going about it, like when it comes to reproductive rights and all that. I know, again, that's a big one, but I feel like they would, because I always felt like with politics, it's always like, oh, they're gonna cater to the big issues. Like if this is the hot topic, agree with this side or agree with that side, because you don't want to be like the unpopular opinion. And it feels like, when it comes to reproductive rights and all that, like the popular opinion is like, hey, have the choice and all that. And it's like doubling down. I always find it crazy with like Donald Trump. Like, I feel like in the past, like with its like big controversies with politicians, whether it be presidents, senators, or something like that, like, oh, they have a Senate dick pic, or the sexual harassment, or this and that, like everyone else like drops them and backs off right away. But like so many people are doubling down on Donald Trump, all that, versus like January 6th, versus like the election fraud claims, and I know all that shit about the documents and Mar-a-Lago or whatever. It's just like crazy that everyone was like still doubling down on the support for Donald Trump, who, again, remember, being the president was his one and only held office politically. I'm not sure what you count with like business and all that. And there's like lawsuits you hear about that too, with like his business dealings and all that. So he ran for his office for 4 years, and he lost to Joe Biden. So it'd be really funny. Like, I feel like it's not getting into it as much with like other possible Republican candidates. I'm not sure if like they're gonna really push Donald Trump or try to challenge him. I'll say challenge him, because I could imagine like political ads like, "Hey, Donald Trump is the loser. He lost to Joe Biden. Do you really want that loser to lose again?" I would think that would be so funny if like the other candidates in the Republican Party like pushed that. Also, I guess my last little tidbit when it comes to politics is like, I think this might be laws looking into about like limiting terms and all that, but I don't want fucking old people in politics, like in terms of holding office. Like, I don't want old fucking Biden. I don't want old fucking Trump as president, because I think Biden's gonna run again. I'm not sure, but it's like, no, it's like, it's really sad when it comes to like, especially the presidential election, like picking the lesser of the two evils and all that. But it's like, dude, like you're over 70, like fucking retire and all that. Like, who gives a shit? But I think maybe for Donald Trump, he maybe had more interest in being president just for legal reasons and benefits. Maybe that's part of it. Like, no fucking old people. Like, even that old turtle ass Mitch McConnell. Like, we don't fucking want old people in the Supreme Court. Like, fucking die and retire in Shady Pines or whatever. Get the fuck out of the White House. Get the fuck out of Congress. Get the fuck out of my legal system, or the country's legal system. I don't know. That's I didn't mean to get too butthurt about that, but that's my little 2 cents. So now I want to talk about video games. This is like 3 franchises I want to talk a little bit more, because I haven't been doing this weekly, so it's kind of like old news. But I'm kind of looking forward to the new Sonic game, Sonic Frontiers. Oh, and I think this Netflix show is coming out soon, Sonic Prime. Dropping around the same time. It's funny because I like the Sonic games. I do feel like the older games don't hold up as well. I know there's a Sonic Origins that came out, but I feel like Sonic kind of hit more of a better stride as 3D came out. Also, not to like shell out and promote myself, but I am playing Sonic Adventure 2 on a channel. I am going to get back to that after the Halloween stuff. So in November, I think I might have 1 or 2 more streams finishing it up because I want to finish the main story and do like a special stream with the Chow Garden and all the mini games and stuff like that. But I haven't really played the game much since. Like I didn't play Unleashed, I didn't play Colors. Played a tiny bit of Forces just because like my nephew had it. Oh, you want to play it? It's like okay, because I heard that was kind of it seems like fine, but I do have Sonic Generations. I have played a little bit of that. I want to bring that to stream eventually because I watched the Only Plays channel play through that and all that. And like, oh, it does look pretty good. I know they have the 2 different styles of classic and 3D Sonic and all that. And I did get Lost World, the one that they try to copy Super Mario Galaxy as well on Steam, but I haven't even touched that yet because like that would be a fun series. I don't see too many people who play it in terms of like content creators or channels or let's plays or all that. I thought again I don't really seek it out as well, so I'm planning to do Sonic Lost World, maybe that Generations, and then Frontiers. Because I don't know, it would be kind of fun to like. I don't know, that's with me. It's not like a small little blip on the internet that when something big comes out, like everyone's playing it, and then if I play too, it's like I won't get attention, but I might. You never know. Because it's like the flavor of the week. I think that's kind of like my mentality when it comes to streaming and all that. Is that this is at the end of the day more of a hobby. Like it's not anything big, but who knows down the road. But I don't have to worry about like, ooh, I have to buy this game. Ooh, I have to buy that game. Ooh, I have to buy that game. And this time I do want to play the new JoJo. I think it's a remaster of the fighting game. Came out, so I really want to play that soon. So I think that might be the next big game I buy. I did pre-order stuff too, like new Pokemon and all that. I want to talk about that too. So looking kind of excited for Sonic because I feel like that fan base can be very critical of the game. Like, oh, it's really bad or it's really good, and pessimistic and all that. Like, it's fine. But honestly, with revisiting Sonic Adventure 2, I can feel like that game is kind of flawed and definitely better Sonic games in later entries. But for this time, it's still pretty fun, and like I'm glad I'm revisiting that one. But yeah, we'll see down the road. And then Pokemon, I'm kind of excited for that. I've been seeing like the little drips with the little updates on YouTube and all that. I almost feel like I used to be like not too picky with Pokemon. I skipped the 3DS generations, X, Y, Sun and Moon, just because I never got around to getting the 3DS. And I got the Sword out of that generation, and then Pokemon Arceus was pretty fun too. But also get like. I could see, I know like a lot of people complain about the graphics. I'm like, oh, they're fine. But then kind of over time, it's like, they could be a lot better. I know like people like seeing like the new Pokemon ones. I'm like, oh, wow, it looks so much better. I'm like, okay, you added scales to Seviper and metallic shininess to Magnemite. What else you got? Kind of thing. And when do people get going back to, because I know they put more details about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I think some people are going to be disappointed because it seems like it's not going to carry over too much from Arceus, because I know that's a big thing that people are like, oh, it's going to be so much different. It's going to be more open world and free ranging and stuff like that. And it's still going to be like open world from what they're saying, like with the different routes you can go in terms of like doing the gyms or doing like this story or that. So it seems like it's a lot. They're changing up, but I don't think they're changing up too much as people would expect. I know that little cool feature they mentioned, like the Let's Go, where you can like beat up a Pokemon in the field without really getting to the whole Pokemon battle. Because I think that's one thing that should really like go away is the entering the battle animation and all that. I know it's like classic, but I feel like, hey, speed it up, more quality of life kind of updates and stuff like that. So be more not streamlined. So make it more of a streamlined experience so you don't feel like held up with like, oh, you bumped into wild Pokemon and oops, you got to train in battle and all that. So I think they're at least making improvements, but I think it's going to stay true to the main series than people would expect. And I'm not sure how much I guess is actually going to influence. But I know that's a cool thing about like crafting TMs that for the moves. That is seem kind of interesting and all that. But we'll have to wait and see. So it looks cool, but I don't know. I don't think it's gonna like blow anyone out of the water, especially with like how the previous one, Sword and Shield, was the first like console, like main series games, because they had like spin-offs too. And I always wanted to play the GameCube ones that they had that were kind of like more of a Pokemon, but on a console kind of thing, and not just like, oh, you just importing Pokemon to play battles and stuff like that. So we'll have to wait and see. And then I want to talk about the Super Mario movie. It looks really good. I'm kind of surprised. I know people can have the reservation with Illumination and all that, but it looks really cool. And like the big thing people kind of like praising is Jack Black's portrayal of Bowser, because Bowser that we heard his voice, and I think that's really good. And then the Chris Pratt Mario, which is, like I think it's good, it's fine, but I don't know, it just sounds like Chris Pratt. I think that's a lot of people are like memeing on that. And some people like I know Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario in the games, he probably could have done a better job, because like part of my thinking is if Chris Pratt tried to be more like a Mario Italian voice, I feel like that would get old fast in the movie. So I think, at least with Chris Pratt's performance, like I think that works. We'll just have to wait and see. Because I'd rather see him do that than failing to do like Italian accent or failing to impersonate Mario. But I think like with Charles Martinet, like if he actually had a full speaking role and did take on that, he could probably do that well. Look at Jack Black too. Like you can tell, like he's actually voice acting like Bowser. Almost takes you a moment, like you almost feel like it's like, oh yeah, that is Jack Black and all that. I really also like the King Penguin too. I think that was really good, like opening to the little trailer teaser that they dropped. So we'll have to wait and see. April, I think. Is it April, May? I know it's spring, but I haven't heard much of the voices. Like we heard Toads. I think like Mario for like not Mario, but Luigi for like one quick little line at the end of the teaser. But kind of interested to see like how Peach and everyone's like, we haven't heard Seth Rogen, Donkey Kong. I think there's word that there's another movie coming out, Mario based or Nintendo based. People are thinking maybe it's Donkey Kong, but we'll have to wait and see. And one thing I'm also kind of wondering for the future is with Illumination, because I know they've been kind of known to make like movies that are meant to be popular, just like to cater to a general audience. And I've been surprised to learn over the years that their animation budget is actually a lot cheaper than you would think. When you see all the big names that they try to get for the celebrity voice actors and all that. I say voice actor, but they're more like big actors doing a voice role. But I wonder if that's going to change like the quality of Illumination moving forward. Because I feel like, especially with how big Nintendo's involved with the Mario movie, I wonder how much that's going to impact Illumination in the future. So another thing I want to talk about too is the big deal with voice actor Helena. Let me look that up real quick. I'm going to feel like an idiot if I mess it up. Helena Taylor, because it was like I think like within the week, like she dropped the video on Twitter saying that she was offered, because she's the voice of Bayonetta for like the first two games and other appearances in like other like games and stuff like that, because I know they had a character in Smash Bros and all that. And we find out with like the production of Bayonetta 3, which comes out next month, November, that she's not reprising her role. And then this past week, she did a video saying that she was only offered $4,000 to reprise her role, which really sucks and all that. Well, it's also broke that allegedly, like it's being reported that she was offered $15,000, so a whole lot more than what she claimed, over 3 times as much. So I think as I get older, and maybe it's just the power of the internet with information can just be spread. Whether it's like really true or not, it's really hard to say, because it's kind of like here, this and that, and sometimes it's like hard to digest what gets regurgitated online, whether it's true or not. I guess they think that she was going to be paid like a extremely low uh, wage for it. They're like, oh, it's much higher than that. So if she's lying, that really sucks too. Because I know like voice actors can get really the raw end of the deal, and it kind of like sucks too. But like I was trying to say too, with the video game industry, as you get older and hear stuff like how shitty companies can really be, especially to the employees in terms of like animators and staff and all that. I think you've seen so many examples with like Blizzard and Ubisoft and all that. So not that I can really like explain every because I barely like uh, get info for like headlines or whatever videos or stuff I hear about, but I don't know about like Platinum Games and all that. But that really sucks. But then again, I we don't know the whole story, and like because I also remember like speaking to like voice actors like when Hulu was it still is like working on a reboot for Futurama that was not going to have John DiMaggio for Bender because of some issues about paying and all that. But I guess you got to figure out because he got his role and all that. But it's really funny about how things are really hush hush. I remember seeing like the post like someone said like she's breaking NDA by saying she was offered $4,000. But do they really sign an NDA for when they don't take the job? Because they know like the I forget the name. I'm too lazy to look it up. But the actual voice actor for Bayonetta in the third game, like she signed NDA, so we don't know how much she's getting paid. But I don't know why it's so hush hush about that. Like, I feel like when it comes to like actors in movies and films and television, like you hear like, ooh, this is how much they made, like this is how much they paid this actor, and that was their budget. But I feel like with video games and maybe like with voice acting with cartoons and stuff like that, it's really like hush hush. You don't know like how much they make, given they're not like physically there or acting in a sense of a traditional way in front of the camera. But I feel like it takes a lot to be a voice actor in terms of like you really have to convey those emotions and all that, because pretty much from what I've seen, it's like mostly in the booth, though you want to give that performance when you have so little to work with and all that. So I think sometimes they may get animations and stuff like that for them to look at and speak over. I'm not sure what happens with. I think they would do the voice acting first. Because I think it's easier to have the voice and animate for it than have the animation and then try to get the voice acting to match it. So I'm kind of curious to see how much that is, because I've seen people like complain like, oh, even when it was just like the story of the, I guess you can say controversy that she was getting $4,000. Like, ooh, she just gets $4,000 for like 8 hours of work or whatever. Because I'm not sure how much hours of work. I'm sure maybe at that point they have it all streamlined that, hey, these are all the lines we want in the game, in the movie, in a cartoon show, whatever. I'm sure they want like different takes, because something may not even even when I do like my video essays or commentary, it's like I have so much I cut out just from bad takes, and sometimes I feel bad like some of it's like barely passable. But I guess since I don't have much of an audience, it's like, oh, no one's like judging me too hardly. But like I feel like it even takes a lot, even doing like very amateurish kind of way about it. They're probably like, okay, we want different takes and see what takes work, because sometimes the right inflections or how the lines are read can make a whole difference to a scene and all that. And it might even have callbacks like, okay, we want you to go over this scene again. We want to re-record it, or even change up the dialogue. So I'm not sure how much like callbacks there are in terms of, okay, this was really great, but we want something a little bit different. That I don't know. I just wonder how much work it takes. So I'm almost curious, like, to do voice acting, maybe just for like whatever, like online cartoons and independent stuff or whatever. I don't know. Just gotta have a microphone. If someone like, hey, we want a different voice or something for this random stupid cartoon that someone made online for like Newgrounds or YouTube, whatever. So I'm always open to that. Not that I'll will get the offers or attention and all that, but I was kind of curious about the process. And I think just like, again, doing this podcast mostly solo and mostly with no one really listening, I just get that experience of what it's like to really like think about what you say, how you say it, your inflections, and I'm trying to think of that word, like we think about how you want to talk. God, I can't think of that word, like articulate. Yeah, articulate. Yeah. So I think like also get used to like how you want to articulate things. But I think with voice acting, you have more of a script to kind of guide you through. But kind of my curious thoughts about that. And I also want to talk a little bit about Jeffrey Dahmer. And this is kind of a weird segue, but I've been watching a little bit of that Netflix series or miniseries. I think it's Ryan Murphy who's directing it, and it has Evan Peters as the role of Jeffrey Dahmer. And it's interesting. I haven't like dived too much. I've been obsessed with it because I think when it first came out, you see so many like trending tweets and all that. And it also brings that discussion like when it comes to true crime and especially with high profile serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer. I know there's a lot of criticisms about like the victims' families feeling like, oh, we're reliving all this pain again. You should boycott the show. You should not watch the show because I don't know, it's more meant to get money and all that. And you've seen like tweets like the people who made it were all disgusting, they were horrible people and all that. And I don't think that's completely fair in a sense. Like I definitely can't because I never had been in that situation of having someone murdered or killed, being that kind of really tragic situation. So I can't even imagine, going through all that and then years later seeing it like replay not just in your head but online for everyone to pretty much see. Or with streaming services online, same thing with Netflix. But I kind of heard things that, again, maybe I'm just regurgitating stuff that's I don't know the full stories or all the sides to it. But I remember seeing like the victim family, like I guess they weren't really consulted much in terms of the production of the show. So I don't know. It's also one of those things like you don't know like what really happened. But I thought I heard like some things about like the creators or people behind the show saying, "Oh no, we're telling the stories of the victims. It's more focused on that." And from what I watched, there's a couple episodes so far, but like no, this is definitely about Jeffrey Dahmer, like front and center. Like that's the highlight. That's the star of the show. So you can't say, "Oh, this is about the victims and telling those side of the stories and all that." But I still find it interesting. I still have to watch it, but I think when it comes to like true crimes, where it's like a documentary or like a reenactment or a series like this, I think it's like some people like get really drawn to it because it's like trying to see and put the pieces together. Like, why did this person do this? Like, what pushed them over the edge to be a killer, to do these unspeakable acts? And especially like if you don't know like much about Jeffrey Dahmer, which I don't think I'll be the first person telling you about that, but he even like consumed his victims and all that. Because we've seen like a joke. I think before the series came out, but like Jeffrey Dahmer is like a meme like saying, "Oh, I like Five Guys" or something like that. Like, what's Jeffrey Dahmer's favorite restaurant? Five Guys. Or favorite thing to eat? Five Guys. I really butchered that, but I think that's only that, but also because you watch like content like that, like people see like the red flags and almost get frustrated and you see like how did this person get away with it? Like there were obvious like signs, like they should have been caught years ago, depending on like, how long the crime spree went. For example, the show, I think it's maybe the second episode, but like they had that like young kid, I think it was like 15. The kid like starts to like escape, but he's like in his underwear and out on the street, and like his neighbors like trying to talk to the kid and all that. And then the police come up, and Jeffrey shows up and all that. And then he's like telling the cop, like, "Oh, that's my boyfriend. Oh, he just drank a lot. That's why he's like that." When the kid was actually like, drugged and trying to like recover him from being drugged out. And then he's like, "Oh, we don't have his ID and all that." So he just kind of like takes the kid and like off his way. And he's like, "What the fuck?" Like, but looking at that, even though it was like in the 90s, but you think like, dude, cops would have just like should have just taken the, even if it wasn't a kid, like taking the individual into custody and let them recover, sober up, and all that, because you don't know if that person's really there in a good relationship or what. People can say whatever the fuck they want, try to pass that. Also, I'm not sure if it's Evan Peters' portrayal or what, but I don't see how Jeffrey Dahmer is going to be so charismatic or at least like believable, like lying to the cops like that, or getting men to come back to his place, or his victims coming back to his place. But it's really crazy when you think about that. So I still watch it, but I don't know. Again, it's weird with this show. Like some people's like you condemn them, they're horrible people for making content. even a profit when it comes to like productions, but for the sake of entertainment. But I think when it comes to like producing anything or telling a story that gets into a TV show, a docu series, whatever, like you want it to be entertaining. So I can't really fault them on that, and I don't know. I feel to watch it, but like I said, like some of the things to take away is like seeing those red flags, knowing what to do. Like, what if that show Dahmer, what if like Dahmer monster or something? What if because of that show, when people get more educated or get more like seeing red flags, that it prevents another Jeffrey Dahmer, prevents another killer, and kind of looking at the silver lining of that. So what if people get more armed with that knowledge, like what to do, what to look out for? Even when you see like some of Jeffrey Dahmer's like, you don't know like how true it is in terms of like what happened with his life, but even the signs when he was a kid or a teenager in high school, like really stepping in, and I don't know, maybe he wouldn't turn out how he did. But yeah, pretty fucked up his actions. I'm not really like sympathizing with him at all. Although there was like that thing, like people think that Jeffrey Dahmer's hot, but more like Evan Peters hot as him or whatever. So it is kind of strange to see when you like not too much on either side, but I can definitely understand at least get that way of thinking, like see where they're coming from, see on where they're hating the show, or see where they come from, like enjoying the show and all that. But it is what it is. The last thing I want to talk about on this podcast is sometimes I have like stupid ideas, like maybe it would be like entertainment, like for a skit or a comedy and all that. But that'd be fun. I think it would be funny if they made like maybe just for like a sketch, like made fun of that show Ghost Hunters, but made about people who ghost people, like ghosting, and call it ghosting hunters. I don't know, even the act of ghosting with someone like cut someone off in terms of contact, like they block them, they stop texting, calling, returning their calls and texts, and blocked them on social media and stuff like that. So it'd be funny if they had made fun of like ghost hunters and made it called ghosting hunters. And I even played it in my head, like have an episode like a guy reaches out to them with a girl who like ghosted him, and like I think the funny bit is that they get like they act the same way, like they're actually chasing a ghost. Like they would wear the night vision or the thermal vision kind of glasses and stuff like that, and like talk to him like, oh my god, when the last time you saw her, stuff like that. And then like even have like the same tools, like that sound thing and all that. Like, okay, we're gonna use these tools and like use like a dummy count to like see where she's at on Instagram, like where she's been photographed in, and just like really play off of that, and like go to a Starbucks and try to like feel her presence and her spirit. So they like treat it the same way as like finding a ghost or like speaking to the undead and all that. And I even thought it'd be like a funny bit, like they like consult with the barista, like, oh my god, I saw that woman, and they're like, can you recreate the drink she made? Maybe that can help summon her and stuff like that. And like almost try to do like a seance or go Ouija board and stuff like that. And I don't think that'd be funny. Like the guys would get like so scared, they're like, "Oh my gosh, what was that?" And like a phone went off and go, "Oh no, that was just my Twitter. Like someone retweeted my meme and all that." But just gonna have that same mentality. I feel like that's like really poked fun of when it comes to the ghost hunting show, like the overreactions, especially like when it does. I think every time it doesn't really come into anything, and like some weird like noise or interference, it's like stuff like that. Because I think like some even like room ambience or white noise may sound like someone's talking like that. So they're like trying to hunt down this girl and stuff like that. And then I think the funny thing with my bit, I don't know if it'd be like just a TV show or stuff like that, but maybe just a good comedy bit making fun of that. And then they actually find the girl and like, oh my gosh, she's real. We found the ghoster. We found the ghosting. And then like they find out that the reason that she ghosted the guy because he said some really like racist, hateful stuff that wasn't really cool, and it's like felt that was the best way, and then that's how it ends. I find out like he didn't like ghosted a good guy who, just wanted to be heard, wanted an explanation like, oh, this guy's a real piece of shit, and that's why he got ghosted. So I don't know. I think that would just be like a funny comedy bit or whatever. But yeah, I think this will do it for a good podcast. Probably not do one for a while, maybe monthly, or if I have more stuff to say. But enjoy like the new visuals, all that. But this way to like support, subscribe, follow all that. Twitch is probably the main like thing, but I have been doing like content for YouTube besides the stream VODs. Would be like more like commentary or game reviews or video essays, whatever you want to call them. But that would do. It's a thing for listening. Again, vote. Like I said before, elections are important. At least in the U.S. I don't think I mentioned that, but I think. Well, I mentioned Arizona, so I think people get that this is the U.S. elections. But where we are, any other countries, like vote, get involved, and it sucks. Like sometimes you get so drained and you like don't want to engage with how crazy things can be politically and in the news and all that. But engage regardless. Like even if it's just one vote, fucking do it. So, and then have a good Halloween. Check out my Halloween stream VODs that are coming soon, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.